everyone, welcome to Cancer Healing Journey Talks. Myself, Shruti Rapke from Community Outreach Team of Zenonco.io and Love Heals Cancer. Cancer Healing Journey Talks helps cancer survivors and caregivers to share their journey with vast number of survivors and caregivers who have traveled or been traveling through this journey. This can inspire them and motivate them for their faster recovery as well. Firstly, I would like to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Carl. He's a NPC survivor. I'm happy that you're here with us today to share your journey with us. Over to you, sir. Please start with your introduction.
Hi. So my name is Carl Narup, and 2 years ago I was diagnosed with nasopharyngeal carcinoma that had spread to my lymph nodes and to my skeleton. So that would mean that it's stage 4 type of cancer.
Okay. So what was your first reaction when you got to know that you have this type of cancer?
Well, when they first told me, it was good that my parents were in the room, because I just remembered that I zoned out and I couldn't hear anything that the doctor was saying. So, and then I started pacing the room, and I was just thinking to myself, like what do I do now? Like, this is it was such foreign news, and it was such a surprise to me, because I was 20 at the time, and to me that was I couldn't correlate having cancer and being so young. So to me it was such out of place news that I couldn't really take it in.
Like, you never thought of it would happen to you, right?
No, exactly. And at the time, I mean, I was training almost every day and eating well, and generally very healthy. So it was
right.
It was quite a shock, actually. Yeah.
So were there any symptoms, like when you got to know? Before that, were there any symptoms?
Yeah. So I mean, I'd 6 months prior to my diagnosis, I'd started to notice some signs, some symptoms. For example, I think the first symptom I noticed was that I had a little bit of a bump that was hurting a bit on the left side of my neck.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first sign. And so I went to the doctors, and they said that it was because I had strep throat quite a few times that year. So they thought that it was just an after effect of the strep throat. So I mean, I went home. I just listened to the doctor, because I mean, I'm an engineer myself, so I don't really have a second say in that. So then I think 2 months passed, and in August I started to get some very, very peculiar headaches, like every single day. And my vision started to go out of focus a bit, and yeah, I was generally very uncomfortable. So I started eating ibuprofen tablets every day for my headaches. So I think that was the second symptom that I experienced. And of course, over this period of time, the lump on the side of my throat had also started to grow. So yeah, that was a bit scary. So I went back to the doctors again, to the same doctor, and he sent me to I don't know the name in English, but they take cell tests with a syringe, so they pump out the cells from, and that test was actually negative. They didn't find anything in my neck. So I mean, I went back to everyday life, and he sent me home and just told me that I should just keep an eye on it, and if it got worse, I should come back. So that was August, and then in October, I think it was, I had noticed that this started to swell very similarly on the right side of my neck as well. And my headaches had not subsided, so I went back to the same doctor, and then it started to get a bit more serious, because then he started to think about more serious diagnosis, and even told me that this can be anything from from a virus to blood cancer, and then my head just started spinning, and I called my parents, and I was like, oh my god, like what is happening? And of course, I mean, we like everybody was telling me like, no, like you're like just that's just like the worst case scenario, that it's cancer.
Right.
And yeah, so I pushed that thought aside, and I just thought to myself like, oh, that's probably just some virus in my throat that's causing these lumps and my headaches. So the doctor sent me to an ear, nose, and throat specialist. But that was unfortunately the planned meeting was 2 to 3 weeks away, and my parents at this time were actually very worried about me. So what they told me to do was go to the emergency room at my local hospital, Sahlgrenska here in Gothenburg, and they just told me to go there and ask for help. They told me to go to the ear, nose, and throat specialist there and just demand that they take a look at it, because I mean, now it had gone from June until November, and I still hadn't gotten the proper help that I needed.
So the lump over here or something, it started to grow bigger or something?
Yeah, exactly. So like the lump on my right side started to grow quite a lot from October until I went to the hospital then in November.
Yeah, November, December, right?
Yeah, exactly. November. So I went to the hospital, I went to the emergency room, and they took a look at me and they felt on my neck, and they almost immediately scheduled me for a doctor's appointment with an ear, nose, and throat specialist there. So that was quite nerve-wracking, because I mean, from having 6 or close to 6 months of somebody telling me that this was probably nothing and that it would probably go away as well, to somebody taking it a bit more seriously and telling me that we need to take a look at this right away, was quite a shock, and that's also set my head spinning quite a bit. So I went into the doctor's appointment, not really knowing what to expect, and they did an ultrasound on me and scheduled me for a biopsy in the same meeting. And yeah, it was after the biopsy that we found out that it was some form of cancer, at least, because they didn't know at the time. And upon further inspections on my MRI and CT scans, they could see that the area behind my nose, which is where the mother tumor was sitting, was enlarged. So what the doctor ended up doing was numbing my nose canal with some numbing sprayer. I don't really know what it's called. And he pulled out a sample of the tumor, which is very uncomfortable, and it sounded extremely uncomfortable. But yeah, it's I think they sent that for another test to make sure that was where the tumor cells were like coming from, or however you say. And then we found out that was where the cancer had started from, at least. And then I think it was a few weeks later where they also saw like a little spot on the PT scan where there was another like tumor in my spine. So I had to go in for another test where they numb the part of your back where the tumor is sitting, and then they actually take a kind of like a drill bit or something that's hollowed out, and they stick it into you and basically screw out like a piece, or like take like a sample of the bone in your spine.
Yeah, right, for the test, right?
Very weird. Yeah, for the test, exactly, for the test. So that was, I mean, all those tests and samples were quite traumatic, and happened in such a short period of time that I didn't really have any time to adjust to what was happening.
What were you thinking at that time? I mean, all the negative thoughts, or like what?
Well, I mean, because everything was happening so fast, I didn't really have time to
To
think about
even think,
anything.
right?
Yeah, I mean, like everything happened in the span of, I think it was like 2 weeks or something. Like
Right.
all my tests, all my everything. So I mean, for me, it was just a point in time where I shut down like mentally, and I just did what I had to do, more or less. And I wasn't really thinking about anything, other than like, I mean, I kind of don't like hospitals, so every time I had to go there, it was kind of a scary process. But I wasn't really thinking about the fact that I had cancer at the time, or how severe it was,
Right.
or anything like that. It was kind of just a point in time where everything was like sinking in, and I was trying to understand what was happening to me, and how I was feeling, and yeah, I didn't really have any time to process any of my thoughts or
Right.
what was going on.
So, which type of cancer you had, like NPC? Can you please tell us about that?
So the easiest way for me to describe where it is like in the back of your nose at the top of your throat. Um, and it's very, very uncommon here in the West. Um, I don't know why. But actually, the doctors think that it has something to do that with the fact that I used to live in China for a good part of my life. Because there it's quite a more common type of cancer. Um, and
But
the
I
reason for
don't
that, I
think
don't really
cancer
know
is
why.
like cancer can spread through people or something.
No, no, exactly. No, 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 no.
Right.
But the causation for the cancer is a bit more common there.
Okay, in
So
China.
yeah, it doesn't spread from person to person.
Right.
But the people are exposed to the circumstances needed for that type of cancer to grow.
Right.
I think it has something to do with the fact that my cancer is related to the Epstein-Barr virus, the EBV. My doctors told me that there is a strong correlation between my cancer and the virus. So I think the more common like slang for the EBV is like like mono disease or something like that.
Okay.
Which I mean, a lot of people have it, but it does not necessarily mean that it has to become cancer. It's actually a very
Okay.
rare thing that the virus leads to cancer. Yeah, and I don't
Right.
really know what the
So,
circumstances need to be.
what treatment you exactly went through?
So I started off with, I had like I had one round of chemo in the hospital before Christmas, and when I left, they had attached like a sort of a chemo pump to my stomach, like with a bag of some sort, where I got constant chemo therapy for 6 days roughly. So then I could go home and like sleep in my own bed, which was quite
Right.
nice. Yeah. And then I went back to the hospital, they detached it, and then I had 2 weeks like free time before I had to do my second round of the same process.
So, were there any side effects of chemotherapy?
So for me, it was like nausea, I'd say, was the biggest one. And it was hard to eat because I mean you were so nauseous the whole time.
Right.
But from like the usual thoughts around chemo is that everybody loses their hair and like throws up a lot every day, which can happen. I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't, but for me, I got to keep my hair. I mean, some of it was still falling out, but I only threw up once per chemo
Yeah, I've heard
round.
that like the side effects are mostly like the taste goes, even the water or anything you eat, you feel like vomiting and all.
Yeah, yeah,
Huh, right.
yeah.
You
So
tried any alternative treatment or just went through this?
no, so the doctors decided that this was the best form of treatment.
Hmm.
But then after my 2 rounds of chemo, then I had chemo and radiation for 6 weeks starting in February. So that was like my
Okay.
second type of treatment.
Treatment.
So then it
Yeah.
was, I think it was on Mondays I had radiation therapy very early in the morning, then chemo directly afterwards, and another round of radiation therapy in the afternoon usually.
Okay.
And then
During these
Tuesday,
times, I'm sorry,
oh,
continue.
sorry, thanks. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I had 1 round of radiation therapy every day.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of time at the hospital, basically.
Yeah. So during these times, who was your support system?
So my family, they usually live in the US. But at the time when I was doing all my testing and stuff, my mom was actually able to come back to Sweden to help me with everything. And because it was so close to Christmas as well, so then I had my dad was able to come here as well.
Right.
So he stayed for over Christmas and was able to help me there. But he had to go back for work in early January. Then it was me and my mom still. Um, and then when I was doing my radiation, my was actually the same time when Corona was starting to get a bit more
Oh,
serious.
like during March or something.
Exactly, yeah.
March, April, right.
So yeah, my dad actually made the decision to come back to Sweden to work. So then I had him from like mid-February till the end of summer, more or less. He was able to stay here and help me and my mom, which was actually
Right.
really nice. Yeah. So I had a really good support system, I'd say. Everybody
Yeah.
was very, very helpful, and yeah, I have them to thank.
And during these times, mostly people think of giving up, like that's it, I can't do it anymore. So what kept you like motivated?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my time was spent in bed, because my radiation therapy was so like taxing on my body. And I just remember laying in bed thinking every day, like once I have the energy and strength to go outside again, then I'm going to start playing golf, and I'm going to start running and start lifting weights again, and yeah, there's going to be nothing like holding me back.
Right.
So I guess what kept me going through those really tough times was the fact that I was looking forward to something after my treatment. So
Yeah.
like for me, it wasn't like, oh, okay, now I'm doing this treatment, I'm only thinking about this treatment and my cancer.
Yeah, you were looking
Yeah, it
forward
was
to the future, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So do you think cancer has changed you in a positive way?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there was a point in time where I thought that like this was like not the end, but like it was like a big part of my life, and I wasn't really thinking about it in a positive way. But I mean, I can say that like having gone through this type of treatment and knowing that I still have cancer in my body, definitely helps me put a different perspective on life, and it helps me kind of filter out the unnecessary in life, and focus on what I think is important instead of what other people might think is important for
me.
Right. And I also think that I've gained more self-confidence as well, because I know that now I've gone through something very tough in my life. So that was kind of like a mental checkpoint of some sort.
Like now you can go through anything if you have went through this. Yeah.
Exactly.
And now those who are going through the same thing like cancer, what would you suggest them or give advice to them?
I would suggest that they still have some form of regularity in their life, so that they don't like if they're studying or if they're working, that they at least try to maintain that to some degree. I found that having some sort of normality in my life kept me going a bit as well. Like surrounding myself with friends and family, that definitely helped as well. But yeah, if you have some sort of hobby or something that you love to do in your spare time, then definitely keep that up as well, because there's a lot of time where or there's a lot of downtime. So having something to think about it all the time is very helpful and very useful to get you through hard times.
So now after the treatment, how are you doing? Like I saw your Instagram, you're like motivating people through doing like fitness and all. So can you do you want to like describe about it something?
Yeah, so now because I have stage 4 cancer, so it's still like hiding in my body, in the lymphatic system and my skeleton. But my body seems to still be able to work. I mean, I'm still gaining weight, and I feel very strong and very energized still. So I'm using that to my advantage, actually, and I'm starting to go back into track and field, which I was doing before my diagnosis in 2019.
Right.
So I'm kind of I'm using my sport and my diagnosis to kind of fuel other people as well who might be in the same position as I was.
If you want to give out like 3 life lessons which you have learned because of cancer, what it would be?
3 okay. Okay, number 1 maybe is everything is not as important as you think it is. Once you're faced with hard times in life, you really find out what is important to you. Yeah, I guess that's the first one. The second one is you are a lot stronger than you think you are. I mean, my treatments definitely took a toll on me, and there was times where I was thinking like what is going on, but yeah, my body was able to bounce back from that experience, and yeah, I have it to thank. And number 3, well, yeah, I mean, spend more time with the people that you love, like, because those are the ones that really have your back in tough situations. Those are the ones that really care about you. So yeah, spend time with those people.
So if you want to like sum up your journey in just one line, what it would be?
The most important experience of my life, I think.
And so when you had cancer, that time you ever thought like, why me? Why everything is happening to me?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was 20 at the time, and I was training at least 6 times a week and eating well. And I was so confused because I was doing all the right steps, but I was still like getting sick, and I didn't really understand the correlation between the two, because it didn't make sense to me.
Right.
So it was yeah, that's what I was thinking at the time.
So right now, are you like thinking about the future? Like, what are you going to do? Or are you living in the present?
I would say it's a mix between the two, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I definitely have goals in for the future, but I'm also taking action in the now and in the present as well,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to enjoy the time that I have right now,
Right.
which I've found is very important. So yeah, it's a bit of a mix of the two, I guess. Whereas before, I think it was more of that I was living in the future.
Okay.
So yeah, it's changed a bit. Actually.
Yeah. Okay, then. Thank you for your valuable time. I'm sure this session really motivates people out there who have traveled or been traveling through cancer. It was lovely having you here today. Once again, thank you.